Well, first off, if I could predict the economy, I'd be a multi-millionaire and I'd be sitting on the beach in the Cayman Islands with a pina colada right now. I wouldn't be here talking. So all I can say is if you look at long-term interest rates and look at the spread between inflation-adjusted interest rates and regular interest rates, that's a better prediction than anything I could give. Doesn't mean it's right, but if I knew what the real answer was, as I said, I'd be very wealthy. In terms of the rest of your question, you've touched on a very important factor, which is that the Fed is somewhat impotent in this type of environment. They can create money, but if nobody wants to lend it or borrow it, it's like pushing on a string or trying to shoot pool with a rope. It's just not going to work, which is good. I mean, in my view, I don't want, I want their efforts to be inflationary. I want those efforts to be hindered. But it still doesn't solve the problem that government intervention is preventing prices from going back to their market clearing levels. And so it's not as, even though I think the Fed isn't being as bad as it could be because of these factors, I think they are still interfering with just letting house prices and other asset prices go to where they should be.
Okay, maybe now. There are people also in Poland who claim that a half year ago there was a problem with subprime credits, there was an economic problem, maybe recession. But now they claim that there is a crisis of trust, of confidence. Do you think that now it's not crisis, not recession of economic recession, but crisis of trust, confidence between financial institutions, between government, Fed, and every participants of this financial speculation?
Well, I think what you described as a crisis of confidence is simply what I was describing as markets being volatile and unsure because they don't know what the actual value of a lot of the assets are. And that's not all government's fault by any stretch. I mean, government, I think, created some of the conditions with excessive money creation, but I think that the best thing government can do, as I said before, is just let the bubble burst. Let the prices go back to their market clearing level. Once people have some confidence as to what different assets on different balance sheets are actually worth, then I think markets will go back to being much smoother without the uncertainty and the volatility that you see today. I mean, there's always uncertainty and volatility to some extent, but there's normal levels of uncertainty and volatility, and then there's what we have today, which is dramatically different.
We've heard an opinion of an expert, but what does an ordinary American think of this crisis?
Of what now?
What does an ordinary American think of this crisis, or possible crisis?
The average American simply has a sense that something is up. Most Americans are too busy raising their families and going to work and watching American Idol and stuff like that. And if they're following politics and government, they're probably following the Hillary-Obama race. And so, yeah, that they know something's happening on the economic side, and they know that they're seeing something on their news program about Bear Stearns and subprime mortgages. But for the most part, Americans are focused on what affects them. So if their house is falling in value, and they have to, in effect, bought a house at the wrong time in the market, if you buy at the peak of the market, and you buy it with no money down, and your house falls in value, you're in trouble. So those Americans would be very concerned just about their personal situation. Americans who fear unemployment, even though our unemployment is only 5%, always some people that are uncertain about their own personal prospects. Well, will my job be here next year? Yes, so you have that kind of trepidation and that kind of anxiety in the American economy, but it doesn't really get much deeper than that, simply because the average person doesn't think enough about these things, and if they do think about them, you know, they probably have a very incoherent view of them. You know, Americans can be very strange sometimes where, you know, they'll say in one public opinion poll, government's the problem, and then they'll be asked, what should we do about this? And they'll say, oh, we need more government. You know, so incoherence is really, you know, if I was going to pick one word to describe it, that would be it.
Dr. Mitchell, who of presidential candidates has the best way, the best agenda to address problems of American economy? How do we evaluate their approaches to failing economy?
Well, assuming we're talking about the three major candidates that are left, McCain, Obama, and Clinton, Obama and Clinton are both hopeless statists. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. That they both want higher income tax rates. They both want more government regulation. They both want more government spending. I can't think of a single issue that they're good on economically. The only positive thing I can say about them is that some of their protectionist demagoguery, they don't mean it. They're not as bad on trade as they say. They're still bad, but they're not as bad as they say. McCain, he's a mixed, much more difficult to categorize candidate. And I'll start, first of all, by saying that ever since Reagan, Republicans have been going downhill. So it's not as if they're always the best choice. As a matter of fact, in some cases, like in 1992, I think the nation was better off with Clinton than with the first Bush. And I think it was better for the country for Republicans to lose Congress in 2006 because the Republican incumbents, the ones that came to Washington in 1994 thinking Washington was a cesspool, by 2006 they thought it was a hot tub. And they had been totally corrupted by the system. And so even though the Democrats that took over were bad, at least getting the Republicans out leaves you with the hope that the Republicans will sort of cleanse the corruption out of their party and come back as a Reaganite party again. But I'm stalling. John McCain, what can I say about him? Interestingly, one of his top advisors is my ex-wife, so I do get some inside gossip on the campaign. And she's actually, for all her other problems, she is philosophically sound, so we see eye to eye and that kind of stuff. McCain is very good on trade. He's pretty good on regulation, although he's so bad on global warming that the amount of regulation and government intervention you can get under the rubric of global warming can be enormous. He's much better than the average Republican on spending. Bush has been terrible on spending. McCain has voted against some of the idiotic things Bush has done, like the Medicare prescription drug entitlement, farm subsidies, the transportation pork barrel spending bill. He did vote for the no bureaucrat left behind education bill, but that was in 2001, so hopefully he's learned since then. So, bad on global warming regulation, good on other regulation, good on trade, seems to be good on spending. I do worry on taxes.